and welcome to the next level. We have been away for a little bit of time, but we are back and ready to go. So before we get going, I'll quickly see if there are any announcements for this week.
Happy Mom's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, yes. And the next thing we will do, I'll try and actually remember the right sequence of events for starting the session. So number one is my ask for offers. So we are now in a city, we've got some downtime, we'll see what happens. What are some interesting names of or sort of types of shops that the characters might come across? I'm going to just take out anything to do with sort of magic items. That's already been dealt with, but what other types of stuff might be out there? Let us know, and we'll see if we can work some of that in. And a couple other sort of beginning of game things. One of them is Jacob's start of session roll. So if you want to give me a roll.
Old roll.
It's an intelligence roll.
Yeah, my intelligence went up from last time, so it's slightly better.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
No.
Didn't go up enough.
Remind myself. Where is that? That is what that means. Okay, good. And I think that's just about it for sort of stuff off the top. So, last we left off our heroes. They had ventured out into the Shadow Forest, defeated some rather significant and interesting creatures there, taking down a dome of shadow, defeating the shadow creature that was guarding a sphere that seemed to be empowering the whole area and freeing the creatures and the civilians that had been corrupted in this area as well. They brought all of those civilians and themselves safely back to the city of Silver Lake. I almost forgot the name there for a moment. And on the way back, there was some definitely interesting times with a skin of mead that got passed around, and some things that may or may not have come out in the last session. But otherwise, our companions are doing well. They're back in the city, and they're due for some rest and maybe some research and relaxation, the 3 R's for any wizard. So without further ado, I will hand it over to you guys. What do you want to do? We'll say it's, unless anybody has anything different that they want to do during the night, it's sort of probably the next morning after we left off. And you can start your day and go about your business.
For me, my two things will be to get my cart unimpounded,
Yep.
and at some point to visit my sister.
All right.
And I suspect Torok and Mint will be looking for new lodging because this is outside of their price range.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're not going far.
Well, pretty much any other lodgings are, I mean, the city's not huge, so it's not going to be that far away, but they're going to be a significant distance within the city from where you are. It would be a bit of a hike to get there.
Oh no.
Yeah, I believe we potentially discussed you looking at other, lodgings potentially as well. There might be some nicer rooms within some of the lower class establishments you could check out.
No, sorry.
I think I'd probably look for a room at the Napping Gnome.
Napping Gnome. Yep.
Where my
Is that the
sister's
one?
located. That's where she's staying, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is a generally respectable inn and tavern in the lower merchants district.
Yeah, which one's the Napping Gnome?
Oh, yes, on the map. Napping Gnome is number 8. So towards the right-hand side against the wall.
Okay.
Not as expensive as the Minstrel's Muse, right?
No.
I think that was one of the first places me and Torok were going to check out for lodging.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So yes, I believe. Are you sort of heading out as a group, or sort of filtering out in bits and pieces through the morning?
Knowing that Torok's presence might really spook people, I think I might try to procure the room solo first, just to see if it is a place we want to pursue.
Sure.
And I'm not going to bother bringing all my things with me yet.
Yeah.
There's time for packing up later.
Yeah. You can peruse and figure things out.
Torok can show up for room rental rate negotiation though.
Yes.
Like that's always good.
They'll want to charge more. We've been over this.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, the morning comes. You sort of filter out in your own time to go about your business. We'll sort of Gildy and Talon. We can also sort of catch up with you in a moment. But we'll start with Jacob. Yeah, what's your first destination when you head out?
It probably depends on when I arrange to meet with my sister.
I believe it was over lunch for
Okay.
for that day.
Okay, then in the morning I'll probably go try to check in on my cart.
All right. So your cart, is sort of way up in the corner. So number 4 up there. So not the best location in the Lower Merchants District, but it's still in the Lower Merchants District. It's inside the city, which is a relatively good location. It's not out in sort of the alleys, which are sort of more slum-like in some ways. But yeah, you go and you meet with the half-elf Timol, who had been the one sort of renting that small plot to you, and he's not. He doesn't seem angry. Like you received the note from him saying that you were overdue, but he sort of he acknowledges you and it's like, have you come to pay what you owe?
Of course. I always pay my debts. Sorry, I was out saving a bunch of people from evil things, so I was a little busy to pay the coins here.
Oh, okay. That is a noble thing, I guess. Yes,
Very dangerous too.
No.
Yes.
Okay, you must be one of those people who seek adventure in life. I'm quite happy to just stay in and rent a few little plots of land but yes. So as we discussed initially during the rental, you can go for about a week without payment. After that point, I would otherwise claim the items that are there. And this was only about a day or two over. So yes, if you would like to pay in advance, unlike last time, then you can feel free to do that as well.
What was the payment amount again?
So currently you owe 2 silver.
2 silver. That's a lot.
Yeah. He's got relatively reasonable rates, especially since you're also sort of out of the way in the Merchants District. So
okay, so I don't feel it's too unreasonable. I'm a
no.
cheap ass.
No, that is actually a decent rate.
Okay.
Yeah, his rate is essentially a silver a day. So.
Okay. Yeah. Let's prepay. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be in town, but let's go for a couple weeks.
A week is 8 days in this world, so 16 days.
Yeah.
All right, so 16 silvers.
All right. So I'll pay that off.
All right.
So
and yes.
any unusual happenings in my absence?
Well, of course, the city is quite abuzz with the elections coming up. I'm just going to check my timeline here to see sort of how far away we are from them. I think they're just about 17 days away. So yeah, just over 2 weeks. Yes, everybody's of course vying for various different positions and spending a lot of money to try and show their wealth to get people to back them, or trying to buy interest in their parties as they can. So the election itself is quite interesting. The auction for the two extra seats on the council. Of course, you can't do much in advance for that other than to have bought your way into it. Yeah, it's things are interesting. This sort of time is always a little bit interesting in Silver Lake. More people in town than usual. Some people have been by even this area and quite interested in the various different wares. Yes, people come from all around to celebrate. It's a time of celebration in the city in a lot of ways. So all of us who are in the more monetary-based trades will be quite happy that there's this more wealth to be thrown around.
That's amazing. I love both wealth and celebrations. And speaking of, I'm wondering if I could purchase some sort of, with the adventures that I've been on, I've come into a little bit of coin, and wondering if I could purchase some sort of VIP status for my cart, either a more prominent location, perhaps a daily cleaning, leaving a couple pints of beer close to it in a nice cooler.
If you were looking for a different location, that is not something I can help you with, although I do know some of the other landowners who could rent you some spots. Yes, this is sort of the area that I preside over. There are a few other areas where you can buy small areas for carts and such. But as to the other items of perhaps providing some drinks or sort of other amenities, that can be arranged.
Is it out of character? Is it 10 silver or gold, or is it 100? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna reach in. I'm gonna pull out three gold, hand it to him, and say, "Ensure my cart is well stocked and well taken care of."
Outside of game, what do you mean by stocked?
With beers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He will make sure, like all of these areas, he makes sure they are safe and that people are not stealing from any of his clients, because that's not good. So there are sort of a few larger individuals around, just keeping things on the up and up. But yes, he will have some beers brought out, and so for 3 gold, he's willing to essentially you have a valet that you can sort of call upon to get you things or otherwise sort of help take care of you. And that would take care of his services for about that same 2-week period. And his name is Jadran.
How old is Jadran?
Jadran is a human male. He's in probably his late 40s. He's not sort of as young and spry as he used to be, but he is dependable, and he can move with a decent pace when he needs to get around.
I really want to call him Boy. But that's really wrong. I'm going to come up with a nickname. Jadram?
Jadran, yeah.
I'm going to call him Sergeant.
Sergeant. All right. He sort of, all right, that people are strange and you are the person I'm serving and you want to call me Sergeant? He just goes with that. And,
Colonel. I like Colonel better. Thank you, Colonel.
Colonel. Okay.
Oh, goodness.
Jacob's gotten eccentric after a flush full of bag of gold.
Apparently.
Yes. All right. So we'll sort of change gears for a moment, unless there's more Jacob wanted to do specifically sort of at the cart.
No, at that point, I'll just be fiddling a few things together to put some wares on the cart.
Yep. Who wants to sort of venture out next?
I I think I'd be okay making my way out in the morning towards the napping gnome and
Yep.
scope out what the building's like. There's not too much on the way from here to there, I think, from what I saw on the map.
Well, I will describe it. So you pass probably what would be sort of the medieval equivalent of sort of row houses or townhouses. They're just outside the Upper Merchants District, but they're probably still considered sort of on the higher end of sort of housing in the city. You come to a large sort of green area with a tall clock tower and a statue of, the statue is actually of like 4 merchants, sort of, hands outstretched, exchanging goods as if to sort of symbolize the sort of exchange that they expected to have in the city. You turn a corner, you cross a bridge. Directly there, as soon as you cross the bridge on your left, there are sort of, there's a stall there, and sort of it's an open air. You can sort of, people are, trying to get your attention. Probably somebody, a young, half-elf boy will probably run out. It's like, the Mistress Maves is open for business. If you'd like to buy anything, we've got many interesting elixirs and potions for all sorts of peoples. So if you're interested in anything, then yes, Mistress Mave has it all, and she can help you with whatever you might need.
I'm good. I've got good stamina. Thank you.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. I didn't even know that. But good to know. All right. You pass a couple other shops and things, and eventually make your way to the napping gnome. First thing in the morning, it's actually fairly busy. The common room does have a decent breakfast crowd in here. You're not sure if it's people who are staying here or people who sort of just happen to come here for the breakfast. But of the sort of, good-sized room that you're in, it's probably about 2/3 full, and sort of a decent crowd in here at the moment.
I'm going to see if I can find a spot to have breakfast, because I might as well try out the food if I'm interested in staying here.
All right. Where did I put that? That's down here. Okay. Yes, a nice, pleasant sort of server comes over and is like, yes, are you here for the breakfast?
Yes, I am.
Any specific types of things that you cannot have? Have you been to the napping gnome before?
No, I haven't, but I've
Okay.
heard about the food in the rooms. So
Okay. Yes. Well, the breakfast is 2 eggs, a nicely warm, fresh, small loaf of bread, several pieces of some sort of meats, usually bacon. Sometimes we sort of fry up some others as well, and usually some potatoes as well.
sounds lovely.
All right. And what would you like some watered wine or ale to drink with that?
Do you have any milk?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
I'll milk with my breakfast.
All right. They run off. Well, actually, before they run off, they will sort of mention that it's going to cost. There we go. Lifestyle expenses. So this is sort of a decent. That's per day. Yeah. So probably going to run you about, we'll say one silver for the breakfast.
Sounds good.
All right. So yeah, she runs off to get that. Again, a wide variety of sort of different types of people in here. Looks like sort of people from some for varying different sort of levels of society. You do notice that behind the bar, so it's a odd sort of bar. There seems to be 2 tiers to it. So there is a gnome that seems to be sort of moving along a raised area. You can see sort of pretty much about chest up for him running across, and then there seems to be sort of an area for larger people sort of slightly behind that. So you're not sure if he's on a little sort of shelf behind the bar or not, but yeah, it's sort of, there's sort of a couple servers moving back and forth, and the gnome sort of organizing and taking care of things. So yeah.
And in terms of conversation that I might be able to overhear or pick up, is everybody mostly talking about the election?
Yeah, it's probably a mix of talk of election, talk of business. So what do you think things are going to be like today? How do you think sales will be? So it's sort of got to do with more people being in town, and some of these people seem to be from out of town and seem to be potentially looking for buyers for various different types of goods, that sort of thing. So yeah.
Is there anybody here actually campaigning for anyone or for themselves at this time, or is it too early in the morning for somebody to be on the campaign trail at this time?
Yeah, there's nobody here that's sort of really sort of boldly, outwardly sort of campaigning for anybody at the moment.
Alrighty.
Yeah. You get your meal. It is quite pleasant. And yes, you got some nice milk to have with that. Anything else you'd like to do?
After I finish up my meal, because it was a pleasant meal, cost didn't seem too bad, I'll go up and I'll inquire about any rooms available.
Right, I should have looked that up while I had the book open to that page.
Sorry, should have warned you.
No, I knew it was coming too, so there we go. So lifestyle expenses per day and a modest, more comfortable level. All right. And all right, so yeah, as soon as you start asking about a room, it's the gnome who sort of comes and over to you. It's like, oh, it's always nice to see other gnomes in town. My name is Twill, and yes, if you're looking for a room, we have very good quality rooms, a wide variety of different types of rooms. We have even some that I would call well, quite fashionable and quite elaborate for our humble establishment. But yes, what sort of rooms would you be looking for? How many and what level?
Don't need anything elaborate, as you have mentioned, and it sounds lovely that you have such rooms available, but I am looking for something more modest, and it would be one for myself and a friend.
Okay, so 2 rooms.
We could probably share a room if it has 2 beds, but if you only have single bed rooms, then yes, 2.
So a single room with 2 beds or a 2-bedroom suite?
If either is available.
Okay. A single room with 2 beds would run about 7 silvers a night.
All right.
A suite with 2 rooms would run about 2 gold.
Probably go with the one that's the 7 silvers a night.
Okay. That is a fairly basic room. You wouldn't have a lot of area to share with your friends. I don't know if you have a large friend or not. I'm assuming not. But yes, there would be a small chest that you could keep items in, a small table that you can share, and then yes, the 2 beds that would be there as well. Very comfortable, very comfortable. I pride myself on very comfortable beds.
Well, I can pass on the information on the rates to my friend, and we'll discuss it, and then we'll probably be by later on today, probably closer to lunch or so.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you, Twill. Pleasure.
All right. I'll leave that open just in case. All right. Who's next? Who else is going out today?
I guess I'll go. Is Brindle Prestos? Is he around in the morning?
Give me a moment. Is that your usual friend?
Yeah, that's the friend that I have the arcane discussions with.
Okay, sorry. I just didn't ring a bell for a second there. Okay. So yes, you'd come down in the morning. I'll give that sort of a percentage chance to see if he just happens to be around. Yep, he's there. And he's in the common room of the minstrel's muse.
Okay. And I take it that Mint is kind of on her way out, and Jacob is heading out for the day as well.
Probably by that time, yeah.
Okay. All right. So then I go over to him and say, Brindle, my friend, I have these coins, and I was wondering if you might know someone who might be interested in collecting such things. And I pull out one of the coins and show him.
Yeah, he takes a look at it, and like I'm not as familiar with that stamp. Do you know much about them?
Yes, and I give him the information we have. I don't remember where I wrote that down.
Yeah, so from an ancient kingdom out in the what is now the Ramadine Desert.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Oh, says yes. Very interesting. So he sort of hums and haws for a moment. It's like, well, there are some people who out in the sand side alley that might pay a premium for such a treasure from the desert. But they'd be in it more for just a monetary gain and sort of the treasure sort of value of it. If you're looking for a more discerning buyer, there's probably a couple people I know at the library that might be able to if they're not interested, at least be able to point you in the right direction.
Excellent. I was planning on stopping at the library anyway. Might I have their names?
Of course you may. All right. So, Toravir. There's a dwarven scholar there named Toravir. He might be interested in this sort of an item. And yes, the other one is Miria, who's a halfling who works at the library. She's a little less of a scholar there, more of one of the sort of functionaries who works there, but I happen to know from talking to her a fair bit that she does have quite an interest in ancient artifacts and items. So she might be someone of interest to talk to.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Then I will head to the House of Wands.
Okay. Give me just a roll of a d20. Oh, and I'm not on
16.
Interested in artifacts. All right. Where is... All right. As you're heading out of the Minstrel's Muse, there's a bit of a crowd around the door. So sort of a couple of people are sort of coming in and going out. There's a bit of a jostling in general. And you sort of get out and you get about halfway to the House of Wands. And just sort of had this odd sort of curious sensation about you. The coins, where were you keeping them?
So I was keeping a single one out to show people, and then the rest were in my bag of holding.
Okay. Yeah, you sort of have this strange inkling that something's not right. And look down, and your bag of holding is not there.
Uh-oh.
Wow. All right, then I head back and look for anyone suspicious.
All right. You assuming back to the minstrel's muse and start there.
Yeah, I retrace my steps.
Give me an investigation check.
I think Leon is getting upset.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
probably worked.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's interesting. Anyway, okay, so you look around, you ask around. There are people who sort of remember that sort of, odd interaction at the doorway, but nobody seems to have sort of seen anything out of the ordinary that you can recall.
Okay, so then I go to the constabulary and I report each individual who I interacted with in that jostle an accurate detail, considering I remember everything that I've seen.
All right, give me an intelligence check.
I'm really glad I didn't say hi to Leon this morning.
That's right.
I'd be on that report.
All right. Yep, you sort of report there was probably about, let's say, sort of 8 different people that sort of you remember sort of at different stages of sort of moving through that bit of a crowd that were sort of coming in and going out. You sort of give a relatively significant description of all of them. Give me an insight check. Oh, yeah.
Really? That one?
Ah.
Okay.
All right. So you get the sense that for the guards that you're reporting this to, a couple of things are generally true. For matters inside the city, they're definitely more concerned than matters sort of in the alleys. So the fact that this happens sort of inside the city and closer to the upper merchants district and the Golden Gardens seems to be of a bit more concern to them. So you have a bit of their attention there. You also get the sense that they will work harder if given more incentive to do so. And that doesn't necessarily need to be sort of money in hand as a bribe right up front. But yes, if there's even sort of knowledge of a reward potentially that they might have for this, that there's sort of a greater sense that they will put more resources and attention onto your case than onto others that might be happening at this particular time.
Okay, well, certainly I'd be happy to provide some kind of monetary reward for whoever has information. As well, I do offer my service as a wizard. Sometimes people do need wizardly assistance, for which I have skills in that area.
Do you mention anything? So you've got, yes, wizard.
Yeah.
Wizardry. Do you mention any sort of specific amount for reward? Or
Do I have any idea what would be an appropriate reward?
You haven't been in Silver Lake that long, but you rolled a natural 20 on your insight check. You're fairly certain anything 5 gold or above would be a relatively significant finder's fee.
Okay, then I offer them 10.
All right. 10 gold pieces for the full item returned. And how much for information?
I mean, I just want the item returned. They're the constabulary. Like, this is their job.
True, but if they find somebody who has information and would like to, exchange that on the item, is there sort of a price that?
That's negotiable.
Okay. All right. Info negotiable. All right. But yes, you're a wizard. That is definitely sort of puts you again in a sort of slightly higher standing. And where can they find you? At the Minstrel's Muse?
Yes.
Okay. All right. They will begin their investigation forthwith. And they will be sure to have somebody report back to you by this evening on anything they have found.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, so I imagine I can't cast any of my ritual spells without my spell book.
That is correct.
Okay. So, yeah,
You can still clean things.
I sure can.
All right. You're still heading to the library?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess
All
I'm
right.
not going to head to the House of Wands because is there any point to that? I mean, no, I can't do that.
All right.
Yes, I will head to the library since I
All
have
right.
no money and no real equipment.
All right. So yes, you get to the library. There, you sort of track down those two people in particular.
Yes.
They both seem quite intrigued by the coin, and both are able sort of to identify the markings on it. And when you sort of mention you've got 41 more of them potentially that you could work with, yeah, they both definitely seem like intrigued buyers. So once you sort of have those back, you potentially have two people who could sort of give you something for them.
All right. Cool.
All right.
And then I guess I spend the day reading. I'm going to read up on any kind of like magical transformation that would resemble what happened in the Shadow Forest. Trying to look up about like how to possibly undo that. I'm also going to read up on law in Silver Lake to find out what my options are and how to go about, the best way to go about getting my stuff back.
So I'll give you the law in Silver Lake. That one's relatively straightforward. It is a city. It does have laws, but they're fairly sort of negotiable. The city runs on money and coin and trade. So a lot of the laws have to do with, fair trades and what's considered a fair trade. And in terms of stolen items, that is considered generally to be of not necessarily a capital crime, but sort of significant importance. And the way to go about getting stuff back, oddly, has you can find records on yes, you can go to the city watch and report things missing, that sort of thing. There's often sort of many sort of little sub addendums to that about often there are other people who know things in the city that might be able to find information or have information on stolen items, and it can be of use to go to these people and procure information to otherwise get your items back.
Okay.
It seems like the sense you get is it's all just an exchange of money or information or something or other, and that pretty much everything has a price at some point.
Okay. Do I have any idea of who these people might be who I could go and speak to?
That is less defined in sort of the official law books, but you figure you know some people in the city who live here, and otherwise you've got some contacts, so maybe you could start with them and see what you can find out.
Okay, yeah, then I guess I do go to the House of Wands, talk to Coromandius, and then talk to Brindle, and just find out who I can talk to.
All right. Give me an investigation check for the looking into the sort of the transmutation items from the forest. All right, that's decent. So you definitely get the sense this is a odd and not necessarily new, but sort of not well known type of transmutation. What you know about it is that it took sort of a long time to potentially convert these people from what they were to sort of the corrupted figures that were helping the sort of the shadow being that was there. There's some information on sort of extended rituals that could, completely alter a person, that more than just sort of a spell changes a person for a time. This is sort of a complete and full sort of alteration. The rituals that they seem to be performing for sort of the animals, you get the sense that that is sort of a sped up potential sort of part of that process, and probably requires a significant amount of energy to perform. In terms of undoing that, you don't get a lot of information around that, except that the general sense you get is it's either going to take a significant amount of time, because it took a significant amount of time to sort of convert them, or a significant amount of energy and sort of raw power from something that could convert them back in the same way that sort of those rituals do.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
All right. And we'll sort of get back to you and looking into your stolen items. But is there anybody else who's sort of out and about in the morning that we wanted to go over?
I think Talon, once he's gotten some degree of rest, he probably won't go to see Morgan, because Morgan's probably busy being reacquainted with his father. But we'll probably go see Mordai and just kind of touch base, as it's been 2 weeks or so since we left.
Not quite 2 weeks.
I guess it was 3-4 days to get out there, day or two there, 3 or 4 days back. So I guess, yeah, especially given it's an 8-day week.
Yeah, it's been a little over a week, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you meet with Mordai. You find him probably in one of his sort of known haunts. Wait a second. Bring up something here. Yeah, so in terms of places he hangs out, there's a couple of taverns, either in Sandside or Woodside, that you sort of know to check out. Given sort of the time of day and time of week, you figure he's probably sort of in Woodside, so not far from where you are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you sort of meet him, and he's in sort of back dark corner of a dive location that's just dark and like half filled with smoke. Part of it is from the hearth, part of it is from just all the other smoking that's going on in here of various different types of things. Yep. And yeah, you sort of sit down in sort of the little sort of table that he's at, and he sort of looks up at you and is like, "Oh, Talon, good to see you. Where have you been?"
Mordai, I've been out of the city for a week or so. Had an errand to run.
Interesting. A week or so, you say. So when did you get back?
Just yesterday.
Just yesterday. So you You haven't heard, more than likely, have you?
Heard what?
There's a bit of a situation in the syndicate at the moment.
Hmm.
It's a good thing that you're back and that you're reporting in. We might have some questions for you, although if we can confirm that you weren't in town for the last few days, then that will definitely put you in the clear, which is good. You definitely want to be in the clear. And maybe you could help us figure out what's been going on. I can't say too much at the moment, but I will say this. Something of great value has been taken from somebody of great importance
Hmm.
in
Interesting.
the syndicate.
Hmm. Well, as always, my services are available if they're required. As for my whereabouts, you are welcome to reach out to Morgan. I was with his mother, so I'm sure that my story can be corroborated.
Morgan, you say?
I don't know if Talon would have used the word corroborated.
Yeah, no. Give me an insight check.
Okay, okay. Insight. Quite insightful, in fact.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah, look at that. Pretty much as soon as you mention Morgan's name, there's a bit of a change in his demeanor. You get the sense that potentially using Morgan as a reference is probably not the greatest idea.
Okay.
All he says is, we have been looking for Morgan. Morgan is not been able to be found in these last couple of days, roughly coinciding with when this happened.
When was the last time he was seen?
I believe about 3 days ago. I'm just going to confirm that timeline. Yes. Roughly, 3 days ago. Yep.
Well, if you'd like, I can see if I can track him down.
That would be very useful. He is one of the people we are very much want to talk to right now.
Very well. I will. I'll see what I can find, and we'll report back.
Thank you very much. I knew I could trust you, Tal.
He tries to be very convincing in saying always in return. He wants him to believe it.
Yeah. All right. Anywhere else you are going to check in with or visit?
So after that, it's been a while. I think Tom will probably resume his typical duties of when he's not, on, a job of some sort. Typically going to the library and doing some research on the Archmage.
Right. Now, is this the library in the city or sort of one of the other less library-like, but there's books there, sort of establishments more in the alleys?
So it's all, as Talon does his investigation or his research, he probably started at the main library, and as he's kind of found threads or so, he's followed them out. So depending on what his latest thread is that he's kind of pulling on, it would take him to wherever. So his sort of default is probably back to the main. But if he's working on a lead that he's found, he could be off in one of the more alley or.
All right.
Action.
We'll say that for now you're following a particular lead. I'll let you come up with sort of what that might be, or sort of what thread you might be pulling on. And that right now there's a little shop up in Lakeside Alley, or the docks. that you've been visiting that has a sort of a small cluster of books that on that topic that you've been looking through.
Okay. Does the shop have a name?
It does not. What would you like the shop to be named?
Um,
Odds and sods.
Odds and sods. Do we have any interesting names that have come up on our thread so far?
That's a good question.
None.
All right.
Argo's odds and sods.
Argo. All right. Argo's odds and sods. All right. And Talon. Looking through some books there. All right. And that, yeah, brings us to Gildy. Anything you're doing now that you've got sort of Alphonse around?
Yeah, well, Gildy will want to inform her children of this. So 2 of them are in the city. There's Morgan and their daughter Kaya.
Yeah.
So probably I think that Gildy would want to check on Morgan first, but knowing that Morgan might be more difficult to find.
You roughly, you know more where Morgan has sort of a room. You know where Morgan has a room that could eventually you can find him.
Okay, then I'll go look for Morgan first because Gildy wants to inform Morgan and bring Alphonse, but also is always just concerned about Morgan and what they're getting up to.
Yeah. So where did I put that? So yes, on the map, if you're looking at it, number 13, which is just across on the other side of the wall from where the napping gnome is in Sandside Alley.
Yeah.
That is where Morgan has a room that Morgan shares with Morgan's usual sort of accomplice slash friend, a half-orc named Brato. So you get there, and Alphonse is sort of taking a look around. This is not a fine establishment. This is a very rundown, people sort of just sleeping in some of the hallways, sort of little sketchy place. But yes, you knock on the door. There's a rather gruff voice from the other side saying, "Who's there?"
And I say, "It's Gildy. Is Morgan there?"
And sort of the door opens up, and Brato's on the other side. Brato's a big, strapping lad. Sort of like saying, Morgan's out.
Do you know where?
No.
Do you know when they might be back?
Later. Give me an insight check.
Okay. Ooh, good at insight.
Let's see. I'll actually try and roll for Brato.
Ooh, that's a nat 20.
Ever.
We're killing it on insight checks.
Yeah, so insightful.
And Brato, just for fun, I rolled for him. He's got a 0. So you definitely get the sense that Brato is hiding something, knows more than he's letting on, but also, since you're sort of all over this, that Brato was worried. Brato, especially when Brato was saying that he doesn't know where Morgan is, he doesn't know where Morgan is. And yeah, there's more that he does know, but that is one thing he doesn't.
Okay. So Gildy looks at him which is hard because she's very short and he's probably very tall. Yes.
Yep.
But she has, but I mean, she's got this presence. She has a very like when your mom is disappointed, she's not angry, she's disappointed. That's her that's her presence right now. And she looks at him and she says, "What are you not telling me?" And she kind of like forces him into the room and closes the door behind them, and Alphonse follows along as well, I assume.
Yep.
And then closes the door behind them.
Alphonse, I'll let you sort of have a bit of insight into Alphonse with that great role. You catch sort of a sight of Alphonse. Alphonse is definitely out of his element. Even just being in the city is sort of a little out of Alphonse's element, and in this sort of very cramped location. Like you get into this room and there's sort of, it's 2 beds, but it's sort of like there was 1 bed and they sort of jury rigged it so it could be up a little bit higher, so there could be a smaller mattress underneath. And yeah, there's like it's a tiny room that these like 2 people share. Yeah, probably sort of a single potential chest of items. And yeah, Brato goes and sort of sits on the chest. It's like, yeah, and sorry, Alphonse is not liking this. He's a little bit concerned for what's going on. He doesn't seem to know what's going on, but he's definitely getting a sense of there's more going on here, and he's starting to get concerned. Brato sits down, like, well, Morgan's sort of gone missing, and I don't know where they are now, and I'm a little worried for them.
What happened?
Well, I guess I can tell you. And he sort of looks askance at Alphonse. He's like, is this a friend of yours?
Gildy says, "This is my husband. You don't have to worry about him."
I thought he was dead. Hello,
Well.
dead person. You're not dead. You look very good for dead. I mean, you look very good. And
Nope. Found him
Hi.
alive.
Okay. And he sort of reaches out, just sort of gives him a pat on the head. And like, okay. Well then, so Morgan, well, you know Morgan. Morgan had a plan.
Oh dear.
They didn't let me in on the details because they were a little worried about me, and I'm not that smart. So they didn't tell me the details so that I wouldn't tell others the details. But there was a plan, and they didn't want me involved because it was going to be dangerous, I think. Yeah, you definitely get the sense that Brato's upset about that he wasn't involved. Brato, you've known sort of the 2 of them long enough. Brato is sort of like a big protective older brother, very much likes to take care of Morgan, and Morgan in return takes care of Brato in terms of sort of being the sort of sly and cunning one that sort of acquires things for them. Yeah, Morgan said this was like the big score. Could get us out of the game and out of the city and living well. And they went in somewhere, to do whatever the plan was about 3 nights ago, and haven't seen them since. You haven't seen them?
Gildy shakes her head and says, "No, I just got back, from finding this guy." And she kind of sighs and like puts her head in her hands and just says, "Damn it, Morgan." And says to what is it, Brato?
Brato.
And says, "Do you mind if I look around in their things and see if they left any sort of hints as to where they might have gone?"
Sure. I mean, I don't think so. Morgan's usually pretty good with that sort of stuff. Give me an intelligence check.
Okay.
Just straight intelligence.
16.
Oh yeah, that's good. Now that you're sort of thinking about it and remembering back, your passive perception is high enough that you caught sight of somebody who was loitering, perhaps just a little too long, a little too odd looking, out of place, just outside of this establishment. And now that sort of you think about where they were, it seems like they'd be in a really good position to see sort of the front door and the window of Otto and Morgan's room. So you're fairly certain somebody is watching this area. Yeah. So yeah, you get Brado sort of gets up and shifts around and sort of gets the chest out. And yeah, you can look in here. There's, I don't think there's much, but yeah, sure. So yeah, you go through the items in there. Give me a investigation check just to see if there's anything.
10.
10? All right. What you find of Morgan's, mostly various different bits of clothes. Yeah, nothing in the way of sort of written materials or things that might have, sketched out ideas or plans or anything on them. Yeah. What you notice that's significant is what's left here from what you know Morgan had. You get the sense that what Morgan has on them is all the sort of important stuff Morgan needs. And sort of anything that's left here is the not so important stuff.
Okay.
And as you sort of finish that and look through and sort of, come up with maybe a little bit frustrated, Brato was like, look, you're his parents. There's one other thing that Morgan told me that, I mean, I don't want to get you guys involved, but Morgan did say one other thing about the plan. It wouldn't say much, but the score they were going after, it was inside of the syndicate that we work for. Usually we get jobs from them and we do jobs for them, but he's going to be doing something inside the syndicate, and that's just not good. I tried to get them to stop, but Morgan was certain it was the big score was going to get us out of here.
Mm-hmm. Gildy sighs again in frustration and again says, "Damn it, Morgan!" And then says, "Thanks for telling us that. This was very helpful." And then she reaches up to pat him on his shoulder. She's got to stand on her tippy toes and just
probably have to climb up on the bed.
Yeah,
and
just
sort of,
climbs up on the bed and says, "You're a good kid," and says, "Now you watch yourself. There's people who are watching this place and this room, I think. So you just be careful, okay?"
Well, that's not good. I'm never gonna go out again.
So then, yeah, Gildy
All right.
leaves.
Yep. And you do notice the same person in the same place on your way out. Give me just a sort of a stealth check, I guess. Nope.
Okay.
No.
That's a 21.
21. Oh yeah. So just to sort of not let them know that you're noticing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're fairly certain. Yeah, you go outside of them that they're somebody who is watching this place and those sort of the door and the window specifically, and you don't think they caught outside of you. Although you probably notice, being halflings, they probably did sort of pay a little bit of attention to you, but didn't necessarily notice that sort of you noticed them and watching that. Yeah, where would you like to go from there?
Well, so Gildy turns to Alphonse and says, "Well, sounds like we're gonna have to go find Morgan." And
Alphonse is just like, I would really hoped in the years I was away, as horrible as it was, that Morgan would just get their act together and be better. But
yep, me too. But before we do that, Kaya is gonna want to see you.
All right.
So they're gonna go to their daughter Kaya's house.
Yeah, and Kaya is, of course, she's home with her, I think it's 2 kids. Very happy to see you. I believe I knew where Kaya is on the map. Yeah, so number 12 on the map, which is just sort of up and over a little bit from where 13 was, inside the lower merchants district with those sort of bunch of little houses there. That's where Kaya is, and she's very happy to see her father. And you have sort of a bit of a nice sort of late morning sort of brunch. She's sort of she's going to feed you. She's going to make sure that you've got everything. You know, things are relatively well for her at the moment. So yeah, she's going to make sure everything's okay. She does not once in the entire conversation, unless you bring it up, mention Morgan.
Yeah. Gildy doesn't bring it up.
She does ask if you've heard from is it Bernard?
Yeah, I think that's right. And Gildy says, no, not recently. Out of character, does Gildy know where he is right now? Probably not. He's to
off
wander.
wandering about like you did when you were.
Yeah.
Yep. He checks in every now and then, but you probably haven't heard from him in about a couple of weeks, which is not uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
All right. And you have a nice little brunch there. And we'll get to Jacob's lunch with his sister, but first we'll take a bit of a break. And we'll come back in about 5-10 minutes or so and see if we'll have any other suggestions for other places that might be interesting places to visit in the Merchants District. But yeah, otherwise, we'll see you in just a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to the next level. Hi. We have some various different snacks that we've gotten out, and hopefully you've got some snacks on your end and you can follow along as we snack and game. All right, so picking up where we left off, it is getting close to lunchtime. So Jacob, I'm assuming you're going to head down and speak with your sister.
Yeah, gonna join her for lunch and then kind of side look for getting a room at the end, but that's kind of off to the side.
All right. Yeah, you arrive there. She's sort of already waiting for you in the common room, and sort of waves you over, and sort of just sort of standing off to the side, sort of close to the hearth. Her friend Yumi is there with her. There. Yeah, and she's I said, did you just want to get a table out here? There is some sort of private dining areas. They're a little bit more expensive, but hey, I haven't seen you in ages, and I'd be willing to get a private room if you'd like.
Yeah, let's. I think catching up privately would be wonderful.
All right. She goes and has a quick chat with the gnome at the bar, and then you go into sort of a back hallway, and there's a small room. It's a small table, probably would sit 4 comfortably, and you all sit down, and a server arrives, and given some various different options for meals. And yes, she's treating today. She's been doing quite well in the city, so you can order whatever you'd like.
Well, excellent.
Yeah.
I will order the second most expensive thing on the menu.
All right.
I don't want to be rude.
All right. And yeah, once the server's gone, she's like, so it's been ages that I've been gone, and you've been gone even longer. Tell me everything.
I have a really good story, but this is I think what I have to share is something really between family.
Oh.
I wonder if do you think we could have a moment just to chat on our own?
She has a quick conversation in a different language with Yumi. You can give me an intelligence check if you like to see if you potentially try and pick up sort of or probably more of an insight check just to see if you can sort of catch the conversation between them.
Oh, there it is.
Right. All right. You don't really catch much of it. You get the fact that Yumi's a little pissed off about being kicked out of the room, but she's sort of otherwise slightly annoyed, but sort of, gets up and graciously sort of, bows to both of you, and says in sort of common, I will be just on the other side of the door if you need me, and then leaves the room. Like, is it something? Is it bad? Is it what's happened?
I don't actually know. How long was it ago?
For you, give me a sec. About a year ago.
That's about what I
almost
thought.
Exactly a year and a bit ago. Yep.
This is gonna sound weird, but I'm at a point where I just don't know who I can trust anymore. It's driving me mad, and even if this is to my detriment, I have to talk to someone. And you being my sister seems like a good choice. About a year ago, I lost my memory, or more accurately, about a year ago, my memory starts. I don't know anything about that. To be honest, I don't even remember you.
You don't remember me?
No, I was playing along a little bit with the brother sister stuff just because I was in absolute shock. I didn't even know I had a sister.
You've forgotten everything about yourself?
Everything. Apparently, trade skills. I assume I've always been an artificer.
Well, no. I mean, you. Oh wow. Where to begin?
Yeah, I don't even mean to dump on this. And to be honest, I don't even know if I can trust you. But I've been looking for leads on myself. I have found someone who apparently my pre-memory self told me I could trust, but that hasn't yielded much in the way of anything.
Well, whether you believe in what I'm saying or not, I can at least tell you that yes, I am your sister. We grew up together in the village of Earhart, in Western Haram. It was a small village. Mostly, our parents were farmers, and you were an odd child, but and you were the first to leave. We, as I said, you were always a little odd and didn't quite know where you fit in. You were always running around with your. I was going to ask you what their name was, but I can't. What was it? Oh, you had your little imaginary friend.
Mirdu?
Mridu. Yes.
Ridu.
That sounds right. Yes. Yes, and having so many adventures with her, it seemed always odd to me that you had imaginary friend was a girl. But anyway,
Sorry, did you say imaginary friend?
well, yes.
I've been I have been having some flashes and memories, and this girl features prominently in them.
um,
This is
so
disturbing.
you remember them?
Only flashes. I've been over the last I don't know what it is, but probably about a week and a half ago, I started getting flashes back of my memory. I don't know if it's coming back.
Ah, you definitely get the sense from her without even needing an insight check that she's maybe just a tad bit sort of ticked off that you remember your imaginary friend, but you didn't remember her. Um,
I'm playing that obliviously.
yeah, yeah. Um, it's like yes. Well, anyway, you left home with an artificer, a gnome, um, when you were still fairly young. You seemed to take to it better than anything you tried, and we hadn't seen you since. You'd been off on adventures as far as we'd known, and I left home not long after that to seek my fortunes in the east. But yes, very very interesting.
Did I make any enemies? Was there any of them one that really disliked me a lot?
Oh, you were never what I'd call a popular boy in the village, but that was just village kids being village kids. I wouldn't say any of them were enemies. Just you got bullied a little bit because you were odd, and um, yeah, I don't think it would be that bad.
I woke. So the first thing I remember, I woke up in this kind of temple, an abandoned ruined temple, bits of technology all around me, and no previous memory to that. It looked like something explosive had happened. I don't know if it was a battle, an accident. It could have been all self inflicted, as far as I know. It could have been something I did to myself.
Hmm.
So I'm just looking for leads, and to be honest, you were the first, well, the second real lead I've had.
Now, what was the name of that artificer you left with? Um, what was his name? I think it was Xandar, Zanfar, Zanfal. Zanfal. That was his name. Yes, I recall that. That was the gnome that you'd taken up with to apprentice to. Um, I can remember that much at least. I don't know if that helps.
Did we ever talk where I was going for my apprenticeship?
He seemed to travel around a lot, so you would just be traveling with him wherever he went. Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh
That's
no, it's something that's it's important. I've learned a little bit about myself, and I apologize for dumping all this on you. Um,
And I'll say, as soon as you hear the name Zenfal, you get again one of your sort of interesting, weird little flashes. It's not much. It's you don't even really get this sort of the sort of the face, but you get the sense of this smaller sort of figure next to you. Of there's a cart nearby, but again, everything is sort of vague, and just so probably some spark of magic or some form of sort of artificer trick, and just the emotion that you get from that moment is just of joy, of laughter, of acceptance with this sort of smaller person that's with you, and then that's sort of gone, and sort of are just left with the sort of after remembrance of that.
I'm sure my memory will return. I'm absolutely sure of it, and I feel absolutely horrible that I had no memory of you. But But I mean, enough about me. I want to hear about you. What have you been doing these last few years?
I traveled to the east, to the exotic lands there, and not on the map.
And what's with the companion of yours?
Yes, how about that? Um, so I traveled into the Kiona Empire. So across Thurn to the other side of the mountains on the far side of Thurn, to the far east, the Kiona Empire, even a little bit into Chayu. And I met a friend, a special friend who
How special?
uh,
I'm suddenly, all of a sudden, instinctually getting this protective.
yeah,
Am I big brother or little brother? I have no idea.
you don't know. Just from your rough impression of her and you suspect she is older.
Okay.
But yeah, she sort of hums and nods for a minute. It's like, well, we are quite close, and Yumi is very protective of me. I helped her out of a bad situation in the way that I could with my skills with negotiation and diplomacy and being able to provide some services. And she was very grateful for that and pretty much dedicated her life to protecting me, which I didn't ask for. But we have since become quite close since then.
And what brings you to? And what brings you here? Just one of the.
Yeah, well, yes, I wanted to return home. I've been away for quite some time, and I'd left home because as a bard who's seeking, who only knows the songs of a small village in Ram, there's not much work for that. I needed something new. I needed new songs. I needed new material. I needed to experience life, and I wanted to see what the Far East was like. And now I have many new stories and songs, and I can come back and start to perhaps make a name for myself back here in the West with my more sort of Eastern sound of things. So
When I heard you last week, you were absolutely brilliant.
oh, thank you.
And while I'm saying all this, I'm trying hard, going into kind of bit of a meditation state, focusing on her and like really trying to like hang on to some even bit of memory that I have of Lori.
All right. Give me another intelligence check.
Come on.
Okay. So you have another bit of a sort of a flash of memory, and it's not much, but it's very clear, and it's just as you're sort of sitting now, sort of across a table, and sort of her sitting there and talking in sort of the animated fashion that she's sort of going on. You get the feeling she's always been animated in sort of how she tells stories and talks about things. And you definitely get the sense of other people at the table, but sort of she's the one that you're focused on. She's sort of sitting directly across from you, and yeah, it's sort of this very clear memory of some time in your past. She looks to be about well, actually, how old is Jacob?
That's a good question. I don't know if I would guess probably upper 20s.
Upper 20s. So okay, she's yeah, a year or two older than you. So probably like 12 to 15 years ago ish. So she'd be maybe sort of late teens ish. Sort of in this image, but it's sort of superimposed over just sitting sort of across the table from where as you are now, and you sort of get that strongly, and you're pretty certain that it's a real memory, but there's still this just sort of uncertainty because you're sort of sitting across from the table from you and you're trying to, there's this sort of doubt in the back of your mind is whether you're just picturing her as a younger version as how you think she might be. But yeah, you get this sense of being at this table of at least 3 other people at the table as well. And you don't get much sense of the surroundings other than sort of directly behind her is this sort of rough wall and sort of a part of a window looking out onto countrysides and sort of farms, that sort of thing.
I'm going to actually bring that up. I'm as we sit here, I'm kind of transported back by suddenly a flash of us sitting at a table like this with a few other people talking. You're young, maybe a teenager, and I can see the wall and the window looking out over the countryside below. I wish it was more, and I hope in time it will be more. But
well, we had many a meal together. I can definitely say that, and I'm glad you're remembering something. It's hopefully it's a good thing. It seems like progress. And
sorry, I don't mean to bring us down.
No, and I'm sorry. I'm for someone who makes a living on remembering tales and songs and stories. I feel for you and your plight, and I really hope you can remember more, and I hope I can help you remember some more while we're sort of here together.
Yeah, perhaps this will be another song we can sing one day.
Yes. Although, as I recall, you were not that great of a singer, but
I could try.
You could try, yes.
A little duet reunion of.
Can I invite Yumi back in again? I'm sure she'd love to meet with us and get to know you. And okay, so she calls out, and Yumi comes back in again. Yumi does seem a little standoffish with you. You get again, even without an inside check, strong impression that Yumi is very protective of Lori, and otherwise, yeah, just not trusting anybody, even you at this point in time.
Okay. I try to make small talk to get up with her, but I think the rest of the lunch will just be kind of trying to reconnect with a sister I don't know, and making a slightly positive impression on Yumi.
Nice. All right. All right, so that puts us probably just past midday. Mint and Torque, was there sort of more you were going to do around checking out the napping gnome or investigating the town?
Probably while Mint was doing that, Torok would have actually gone to look at the local help wanted, like just to get an idea of the area and the kind of help people around here were looking for.
Yeah.
Just before meeting up with Mint again to discuss the room.
Give me an investigation check.
Seven.
All right. It takes you most of your time out just to find where this sort of board is. And you actually get a couple different sort of answers to things. You get the impression that depending on whether you're in the city proper or out in one of the alleys, there might be different boards, and you're not necessarily willing to go outside of the city because you do recall that there was something that had to be involved for going in and out. But you do manage to find the one for inside the city. A lot of it is merchants looking for either day laborers or ads for sort of come and check out this merchant who's now set up a stall at this location, sort of on just sort of a what's going on in the town sort of a board. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that would sort of potentially apply to you. There's not a lot of tracking or there's probably some bodyguard positions. So looking for a guard of some sort or looking for a labor of some sort would be the ones that potentially might sort of be of most interest to you.
I make note of it. It gives me an idea of the kind of work that's available if I should need it.
Yeah. And you get the impression that it would be different work available if you were looking in the alleys.
So I'll head back to meet Mint to discuss the arrangements and finish packing our things.
All right.
Well, okay. So the one thing I probably would mention though to you, Torok, is prices. So it's 7 silver a night if we get 1 room, 2 beds. We'd have a trunk to share. But you being bigger, you might want to pay the difference. It would be 2 gold a night if we get a suite that has a separate bedroom for each of us, if you feel you need more room for your things.
Torok's thinking he's like, that's a lot of money for Torok. I mean, Torok has a lot of money right now. Like for Torok, this is a lot of money. But 2 gold a night, he's fine with the 7 silver a night. He'll suffer just fine.
Okay, so we can split the 7 silver a night and we'll rough it. That's kind of what I was thinking. The food there is good though.
We'll say with the 7 silver a night, and including sort of as you bring your stuff over and potentially start to set up, if we're sort of including meals for the day, and sort of a morning meal and an evening meal, assuming you're there, it would come to potentially 1 gold for the both of you per day.
So 5 silver each, basically.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. And back to Leon. You were doing some research on different sides of things.
Yep. Once I
yep.
find out that it's a good idea to talk to people, that might be better than even constabulary.
Yep.
I'm going to ask Cormandius and also Rindle, who to speak to.
All right. Cormandius, he probably recommends a bounty hunter of sorts that he is familiar with, a person who's particularly good at sort of tracking down lost people and things. He does mention that they are not cheap, and if you have lost your funds, then that may not be an option for you, but that's sort of the best option he can think of.
Okay.
The impression you get from him is that this would be something along the lines of, like probably 3 to 4 gold pieces a day, sort of, to find your items for this fellow. Rindle, yeah. So you return to the minstrel's muse. You find Rindle sort of sitting there, sort of with his usual goblet of wine. You ask him who he might know, and give me an insight check just from asking that question.
That's my second natural 20 on insight today.
Okay. He is, even with you, he is almost instantly on guard. And you've known from sort of some of your past experiences with him that he often tends to deflect personal inquiries. And this isn't even directly personal, but he sort of, got that sort of instant sort of shields up sort of thing. But when you sort of explain, what it is, you've had something stolen from you, and you're hoping that there might be people in the city that would know things that, to help you find these, he seems eases off a little bit. And he sort of smiles, and again, with that role, you Oh, that was weird. My monitor cut out for a sec. Sorry. You get the sense that he is almost nostalgic. This sort of faint smile that appears on his face, and you get the sense his mind almost is wandering a little bit, and he sort of focuses back on you. There are a few people I know that have connections to some of the more non-legal goings on of the city. And I could connect you with some of them. They will either prefer to come out during the evening or perhaps meet in a rather secluded location. But I can make some inquiries if you like, and I won't want to give you names right away. But if there's some people who can help you, I could pass those on. If you're going to be here, I can run out and make some inquiries for you if you'd like.
Yes, thank you. It'd be most appreciated, as I have very little left.
I feel you. I have been in a position in my life of not having much to my name, and I understand. So I will do my best to help you out, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, and he downs his wine. He has already got it. Like, he's been sitting here pretty much since morning, eating his breakfast with pretty much a glass of wine in hand. That always seems to be about the same level. So he's got a bit of a rosy cheeked glow to him, but he sort of excitedly gets up and sort of makes his way out of the mews, and yes, he will return back at some point to give you some more information.
Okay. Since I've done pretty much everything that I can, I guess I'll just go back to the library and then start researching that cantrip.
Yeah. And you, this was the umbrella?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I will say, given sort of the rest of the afternoon, you make a sort of a decent amount of progress on that. And so,
okay.
Yeah. All right. Talon, where were you headed next? You're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll probably spend a chunk of the day kind of, trying to get caught up under some research and such. But after having that conversation with Mordai earlier, he is concerned about Morgan. He did want to give Gildan Posey and Alphonse like a chance, and Kaya, to reconnect on the hope/assumption that they would all find each other. But by the evening, he'd probably want to go by first Morgan's place, and if he can't find Morgan there, then to Gildy's place to see if he can track down Morgan.
Right. So yeah, on your way back from Dockside, you probably passed by Morgan's place. You stop in, you get sort of the same response. You knock on the door, and there's the gruff voice that you're familiar with from Ruins going, "Who is it?"
Talon.
Oh, all right. And you hear sort of a lock, although you're fairly certain this door could, not withstand a stiff breeze. And the door opens up and lets you in and sort of closes the door. Like, are there people outside? Are they watching? Are the people watching me? Who's watching me, aren't they? I can't go out again. Can you give me some food?
What is happening?
Oh, nothing.
All right. Well, I will obviously roll an insight check.
You don't need to. He's not. In fact, let's see if he rolls negative again. That's the second natural one for him.
Nice.
So yes, that is a 0.
Right.
Yeah, he is very clearly uncertain about what he is saying and trying to hide things and doing a poor job. Yeah.
So yeah, I explained. It's like I was speaking with Mordai, and he said that Morgan's gone So obviously he's missing, and I'm looking for him to find out where he's gone.
You're looking for Morgan for Mordai? You're here for the syndicate?
I'm looking for Morgan partly because his father has returned, but when
I know that.
I checked in with
Yes.
Mordai, he'd mentioned that Morgan hasn't been around in a while, so I thought I would try to find Morgan as well.
Oh. Well, if you're looking for the syndicate, I don't know where Morgan is at all.
Let's assume I'm not looking for the syndicate. I'm looking for Gildy.
Oh, then
And
I
as his
don't
friend,
know where Gildy is either. And if you're not looking for Morgan for the syndicate, then I can definitely tell you that Morgan hasn't been here in 3 days
where did he go?
to do bad things.
What kind of bad things? Morgan's done bad things before.
Yeah, but never this bad. Yeah, I think Morgan took something from the syndicate, but you do not tell anybody that I told you that.
It will be between us. What
Hmm.
did he take?
I have no clue.
Who did he take it from?
I have no clue.
What do you know?
Morgan took something from someone in the syndicate 3 days ago and hasn't been back since.
Do you know?
Either that or Morgan tried to take something from someone in the syndicate and got killed doing it.
Do you know where he was going to take this from?
The syndicate.
And 3 days ago, you say. Can you? I haven't been in town. Can you think of what might have been happening 3 days ago? Was there an event? Was there anything that might have been an opportune time to take whatever this was?
You do know, sort of out of character, that there is some hangout spots for the syndicate. There's a rather central location that you have been to, and you do know the way to. That sort of many of the, like, it would be where Mordai lives essentially,
Okay.
and in a sort of special underground complex for the syndicate. Yeah.
Okay. But I wouldn't think to look for Morgan there because
No.
Morgan's not going to be anywhere where the syndicate would typically hang out.
Yeah, but if something happened at the syndicate in terms of a location, that might be it.
Was Morgan doing this by himself, or was he with other people?
Yes, very specifically, they wanted to keep me out of the job.
So
Worried about me.
How many others were there?
No one else, just Morgan.
But they wanted to keep you out of it.
Yeah, because Morgan.
And you refer to Morgan as they?
Yes.
Can I read him to see whether or not I think he means just Morgan or he means other people?
Sure.
All right. Please let me be as insightful as everybody else has been and I was earlier. I'll take it.
I just sent you a note. Yeah. So yeah, Morgan is generally they.
All right. Okay. And I remember that in my other notes. I just in now trying to be investigative. I was okay. All right. Well, if Morgan does return, please let him know I'm looking for him, but not as the syndicate.
Right.
As a friend.
Well, I'll be honest. If Morgan returns and Morgan has what it was that they were trying to steal, then we probably won't be sticking around very long. Probably want to get out of town.
So all you know is that it's very valuable.
Supposedly, it's like the big score, and it's going to be like everything we need to live off of forever.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you do need to leave, please at least leave me a note. You don't need to say where you're going, but just a note that I know is from you, knowing that you and Morgan are okay.
If you get a note from somebody named Rodo. That's me.
Rato
Yes.
All right. You said that there are people watching you and you need food. Is there someone outside?
Is there someone outside?
I'm asking you.
I don't know. But when Gildy was here, she seemed to think that people might be watching me.
Can I surreptitiously kind of like as I'm like walking through like the room, whatever it is,
Yeah, it is a room.
I like passively like be looking out to see if I can see anybody that might have a vantage point in?
Give me a perception check and a stealth check to see how stealthily you perceive.
All right, which one do you want first?
Generally, like, just let me know.
All right, we'll do stealth. Not so stealthy. Perception. More perceptive than stealthy.
All right, let's see how. Here we go. So you're 19 perception. All right. So you think you very slyly sort of go over to the window and look out. And you do not see anybody who looks out of place.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously no one that I recognize from.
No. You've met some other people in the syndicate, but mostly you work with Mordai and sort of a few others that you've met.
Yep.
Nobody that you recognize sort of is out there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Bronto's like, you could bring me back like just a little bit of food. I'm kind of scared to go out.
I'll try to come back within the hour with some food for you.
Thank you.
All right. So then I'll go to wherever there seems to be a fairly local grocery type place to get a little bit of food to kind of get by for a couple of days. And I guess what I do, I'll kind of like just keep an eye out for what I see and then get some food and bring it back.
All right. I'm doing some fairly active perceiving. So yeah, give me just another perception check sort of for your way out and your way back. There we go. Yeah, so on your way back, you definitely notice that there's somebody well positioned and sort of hidden just sort of around the corner of a building, leaning on sort of the building. And not quite sure why they'd just be leaning there for however long, but you're pretty sure you noticed them on your way out. And so on your way back, that seems really suspicious. Yeah, they'd have sort of a really good view of the front door of the building that Brato was in and the window that you were looked out of a moment ago. And now that you sort of think back to when you looked out the window, you're like, I think maybe they might have been there, but I didn't really think anything of it.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And Brato was very thankful for the food.
All right. Well, you're welcome. Just try to stay safe and hopefully we can hear from Morgan soon.
Yeah. And I'm worried because they've done a lot of stupid things. Usually I'm there to protect them.
I mean, I'm usually there to protect both of you.
Yeah. No. I'm worried.
Well, I'll see what I can do to find him.
Thank you. Yeah. And where are you heading next?
Well, so I think what I'd probably do is go again, like leaving one direction. If I see where this person who I think might be watching over, I'd try to go like away, like maybe the same direction I left before.
Yep.
Circle back and try to come up behind them.
Ooh, nice. Give me a stealth check, just to see sort of how generally stealthy you are in sort of circling back and getting around them.
23.
All right. You get up as close as you want behind them, and they do not seem to have noticed.
All right. I will probably, with the intention of trying to read them as I say this, I'll kind of come up behind them and just like, not roughly, but kind of like with a hand on the shoulder, kind of like turn them so they, I'm turning them towards me as opposed to I'm getting in their line of sight.
Yep.
And very much a, who are you? What are you doing here?
Yep. Give me just a bit of a strength check, because they are sort of resisting the turn when you're turning them around.
20.
They rolled a 1, so they don't resist very well. Yeah, so you caught them completely off guard. You're like, wow. Yeah, and you're asking, sorry, what was the question again?
Who are you? What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? And yeah, completely caught off guard, sort of looks around at you. You're a big individual there, sort of average size. So I was like, I'm just watching
What?
people. A lot of interesting people out here. People come, people go. I like to watch the people as they come and go.
There are no interesting people here.
Well, look, what do you want? What do you want? I mean, come on.
I want to know what you're doing here.
He makes a very subtle sort of hand gesture, a sign that you recognize as being sort of a thing for the syndicate, sort of an identifier. Do you return it?
I do, and then I take a step back.
All right. And he's like, he sort of relaxes a little bit. It's like, look, I've been here all day watching for some guy, some halfling who's supposed to be coming back here. I don't know if you're here to believe me, but yeah, I haven't seen anything. People come and go. There was a couple halflings that came in and left, but they seemed older. I don't think they're who we're looking for.
No, I was talking to Mordai, and he'd mentioned about this halfling, so I was also looking for him.
Mordai. Yeah, okay. I hit the wrong one.
Oh.
No, I'm the right one. Give me a sec. Okay. Mordai, huh? He sent you along. Oh, all right. I'm working for Dax. And Dax, you recognize as a name. Dax Varian is sort of Mordai's equivalent for if Mordai is sort of the thieving side of things in the syndicate. Dax is more the smuggling side of things in the syndicate.
Okay.
And yeah, he's like, Dax put together a team, people looking for this halfling. I don't know if they're looking for other people as well, but whatever it was that was taken, I seem to think this halfling might have it.
So, what was taken?
I don't know. That's above my pay grade.
I hear it's valuable.
Yeah. I mean, if we catch this guy, it's not going to go well for him.
Do you know who else is looking for him?
A lot of people. I mean, my team, itself, there's Dax, sort of organizing things. There's
What's this guy's name?
the guy you're talking to.
Yeah.
His name is Kruna. And he sort of lists off a bunch of other names that of people you generally don't recognize. But there's a team of about 8. The one name, give me an intelligence check to see if this is a name you might have heard and might remember. But yeah, I know your characters.
That's right. As long as Leon doesn't laugh. 5. That's not the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, the last one vaguely rings a bell. You know you've heard it before, but you can't place it, essentially. And you're fairly certain the name's Vikash, or sorry, I got that reversed. Kavash. So K apostrophe V-A-S-H. You're pretty certain that's a Dragonborn name.
Okay.
Actually, no, sorry, not a Dragonborn. You think it's a Dragonborn name.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The only impression you get from hearing that name is this is a name you generally associated with somebody dangerous.
Yeah. Fash is looking for you. You're not in a good position. All right.
Exactly.
Okay. It's like, all right, well, I will I'll keep looking, but see if we can find him.
Yeah, I mean, given what's happened, I don't expect them to show up here, but never know.
Never know.
All right, well, best of luck to you.
You too. I'll turn and go back the same way I came.
Yeah. All right. All right. Were you going to head to Gildy?
I was, yes.
All right, then I will fast forward to that. So Gildy, you've had a nice sort of brunch with Kaya. You spent probably a good chunk of the afternoon, or at least early afternoon, sort of catching up with her and having Alphonse catch up with her. Potentially, you've got a couple options. If you wanted to leave Alphonse to catch up, you could sort of do some research on your own for Morgan, or if you wanted to sort of get Alphonse out and help with you, you'd probably be sort of leaving just a little bit later in the afternoon to, wanting the time to catch up with his daughter. So.
Well, given Alphonse's reaction when we were like in the room and how he was just kind of like, yep. Gildy's gonna say, Alphonse, why don't you stay here and catch up with Kai a little bit more, play with your grandchildren, and I'll do some looking into. I know some places to go to try to get some more information about Morgan, and you can stay here and I'll let you know what I find.
All right. Yep, he is quite happy with that. Kai even offers, come back whenever. I can have someone sort of head him back to your place, or he can stay here for the night. We have a guest room. We'd be happy to have him. Just whenever you're back, you just let us know. So yeah. And yes, you head out. We'll say for the sake of sort of simplicity, I don't know if you're heading to Talon's place or back to your place, but you managed to sort of meet up with Talon sort of mid-afternoonish at one of your places, and can sort of compare notes from there.
Okay, well, Gildy will just kind of share. She'll ask Talon. Well, I guess she'll start with saying, "Have you heard that Morgan's missing?"
I have. the syndicate's looking for him.
Yes. And then she'll just
Yeah.
share what she learned.
Yeah, and same, and just Talon will kind of emphasize the gravity of like some serious people are looking for him. Whatever he did, very bad. Have you heard anything? I know you can talk about stuff, but like, what, I guess, if we're just gonna kind of skip past the knowledge sharing, where is Gildy gonna look for Morgan next, or what are her next steps? And then Talon will try to do something else so we don't kind of duplicate effort.
Yeah, that's a good question. Rob, would Gildy know like kind of any places to go look or other people to talk to?
Honestly, most of Gildy's contacts, as much as some might be a little on the shadier side, are sort of merchants and generally people on the good side of the law. Your strongest sort of underworld contact is probably Talon.
Okay. Okay, so then Gildy will just be like, well, Talon, you're my best lead. That's why I was looking for you. Do you have any ideas?
Well, he's not going to hang out in any of the regular places because, obviously all the people who know him are looking for him there. So there might be, and I don't know, Rob, one or two places that he might hang out with that are not related to the syndicate. But otherwise, I don't know where else to go.
Give me another intelligence check to see what you remember.
Oh dear. 13.
All right, that's not bad. So places that Morgan might have mentioned. Okay. Give me a moment here too. Okay. So in Sandside, where Morgan lives, the two sort of larger known sort of hangouts and establishments. There's the Rugged Ranger, which is partly an outfitting shop and partly a tavern for people who need to throw a place to stay between jobs, sort of going out into the wilderness. And there's also the Wayfarer, which is a tavern and a bathhouse. Morgan has been known to frequent those, and that would probably be sort of the more known locations that, if anything, they'd be staying away from. Morgan is also a bit of a gambler and spends some time in Woodside. There's sort of three potential places that they might be there. The Wanton Wench is a rather open and not making any qualms about it, a brothel that sometimes Morgan has been known to frequent. The Clipped Card is a gaming house, so is the Boneyard. Generally, Morgan would be at the Clipped Card if they were doing any gambling. The Boneyard tends to be more sort of dice-based games, and Morgan tended to stay away from that. Also in Woodside, you're familiar with the House of Kinship, which you think might be sort of an option because they tend to just take in people who need help. But again, that might also be sort of a semi-obvious place for someone to stay if they need a place to stay. A little more other places that Morgan has talked about. Morgan never shared it with you. Morgan always seemed to be able to get in and out of the inner city without problems, without paying.
Okay.
So you figure there was some way that they had to get sort of in and out of the inner city. And a couple places that they mentioned in there. There's Mistress Maeve's House of Comfort. which would not be probably the first place most people would look. In fact, most places in the inner city probably wouldn't be on the radar for sort of a street thief from one of the alleys. And Morgan had mentioned that sort of a few times as a place that they didn't frequent, but they'd gone to and sort of liked the service.
Okay.
The Horn and Whistle Tavern, they'd mentioned a couple times as a place that they've frequented. They particularly liked one of the sort of rarer ales that they could get there. And it seemed potentially way out there, but Morgan had always mentioned wanting to potentially one day stay at the Peaceful Palace, which is a bathhouse and inn and pleasure house for the sort of the wealthy in the merchants district. Yeah.
Okay,
those are-
so then, so we know Morgan was trying to steal this thing, and I guess that Talon learned that Morgan was hypothetically successful
Yes.
in stealing whatever this very valuable thing is. So is there a place like, so Gildy's asking Talon, like, you know, if Morgan or, you know, you hypothetically had a very valuable thing that you needed defense, where would you bring it?
So I mean, Talon, with his extreme intelligence, was trying to rationalize it, and he's like, well, if he has the thing and it's valuable, I don't know how easily he can sell it. If he's able to have sold it, he'll have money. If he hasn't sold it yet, he'll have the promise of having money later, but I don't know if I have the means to go to some of these places. However, it would be one of the last places that the syndicate would look for him, given that it's more in the inner city and kind of more off their radar than most places.
I'll sort of give you this much from what you know of the syndicate. If there was going to be a significant sale of whatever proportions you're imagining this might be, the syndicate usually has awareness of pretty much anything along those lines.
Yeah.
So the sort of extrapolation from that, which might take Talon a little bit longer to get there than most people, would be that it would probably be very difficult for Morgan to sell this thing, whatever it is, in the city.
Yeah, he'd probably go back to Brado, and they would ditch town and go somewhere else to be safe and sell it or whatever, presumably. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, I get that Talon would not.
Okay. So then Morgan's probably lying low somewhere, and maybe in the inner city, where they would be able to find lodging, but only on the promise of money and no actual money. So probably not anywhere particularly fancy.
I mean,
or the other way around. I don't know.
Morgan has some money.
Now I'm overthinking
Depends
it.
on how long-
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another general thing we both know about Morgan is Morgan has a gambling problem.
Yes.
And whether it's through the work for the syndicate and thieving or gambling, Morgan in their relatively short lifetime has sort of won and lost small fortunes many times. So it's very possible that Morgan might have a bit of wealth to their name right now or not. So it's sort of either could be the case.
Okay. Well, why don't we start in some of the gambling houses? They would probably look for them there first. Like the syndicate would probably look for Morgan there first. But if Morgan is trying to scare up some money to stay at some of these nicer places and lie low, they might be there.
And knowing Morgan, he might, if he was successful, he might be looking to celebrate, and or he might be looking for a good time before he hopefully doesn't meet one of the people looking for him.
And the one of the things you probably both know about sort of the city in general, and so the syndicate that we're talking about in terms of Morgan is the Srebren syndicate. There are several others in the city, and the one that tends to be most prominent in Woodside, where the gambling halls are, is the Foresters syndicate. Actually, let me double check that. Is it Foresters syndicate, or are they just sort of one of the gangs? Yeah, so they're less of a syndicate, more of a gang, but they tend to run a lot of what happens in Woodside, and have sort of their hands in many pots. And in general, they are sort of at odds with any other gang or syndicate sort of in the city. So if there's a place that they specifically sort of protect, I don't know why they would have let someone from another syndicate in, but it could potentially be harder for other people from the syndicate to get in as well.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So I'm sort of getting close to potential ending time here. So I'm going to sort of leave that sort of you two sort of brainstorming for a moment. I'm going to switch back to Leon. So Leon, you get back from the library to find a constable waiting for you.
Okay.
And Rindal is also waiting for you. And the constable has a bit of an update that from the descriptions that you gave, which were apparently very detailed, which is unusual for most people. They were able to identify that two of the people you mentioned could potentially be people of interest, or sort of, known rogues about the city.
Okay.
One is a halfling that seems to generally have been known to hang out in the Sandside Alley, and apparently has been missing for some period of time. And the other one is a half elf that has been known to liberate some belongings from people within sort of the inner city, but generally has had trouble having anything sort of found on them and caught and that sort of thing, but seems to be sort of a known potential thief.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And what does this mean for getting my things back?
It means that they've narrowed down sort of who they're looking for, they believe, and they will keep continuing to do so and asking for information on who might know anything. But yes, if you were also looking, then these potentially could help you find the culprit as well. But that's sort of how we'd be narrowing down our search.
All right.
And once the constable leaves, Rindal would probably come over and say that they made contact with one of the people they are sort of familiar with. Give you a name. Give me one moment.
Did the constable give me names of these two individuals?
They probably have names for. Yes. Yep, I would have given you names. So, so the half elf is Sonora. I like that. So half elf. And the halfling goes by apparently Morgan.
All right. Cool.
And, yes, the name of a contact that you get from Brindle, right, is Misty.
Okay.
And he takes you aside a little bit and says, look, this person is somebody that I have made contact with, who I have had some dealings with. They can be trusted to get you the information you are looking for. I would not necessarily trust them much further than that. I have let them know that you might be interested in their service. They will contact you, and they tend to not be in the same shape often. They have a very good way of disguising themselves. But somebody will be introducing themselves to you as Misty, probably this evening. And if you want the thief found, this person would be very well suited to do so.
All right.
To at least give you some information.
Thank you so very much.
All right.
So then I will talk to Ava, the bartender, and attempt to use position of privilege to set up a tab for my meals as well as my rent, since I have no money.
Ava is quite willing to extend a tab. You have been a very good customer. And yes, it's certain that this shouldn't be a problem at all.
Excellent. I expect to have everything wrapped up quickly, but one never knows. I shall keep you apprised as things develop.
All right. And seeing as it's just about 10 o'clock and we're starting to get to the more intrigue side of things, we will leave off for this week. Hopefully leave you in anticipation of what's going to happen next week as we search for Morgan and see how things play out. So thank you very much for joining us this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't know if we got some interesting names of places to check out, but if we did, I'll try and integrate them into next week's episode, and we'll see what we can do for you then. So until then, thank you very much, and we'll see you again on the next level.